Tonight, soccer night in Canada, a nation captivated as it faced the world champions. Making history, but coming up short in the Copa America.
It's Alvarez! It's 1-0 for Argentina!
In a game pitting Lionel Messi against the Messi of the Maritimes. Controversy in Calgary. 3 animals euthanized after Stampede events. Also struggling in the unrelenting heat as a clear link is drawn between the summer weather and climate change. Plus, help for Ukraine at the NATO summit and criticism for Canada.
They have the safety and security of being on our border and not having to worry about that. I think that's shameful.
And a Hollywood star on trial.
He could either be his best advocate, his worst enemy.
Opening arguments set to begin in the case against Alec Baldwin and a fatal on-set shooting.
I was the one holding the gun, yeah.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, everyone. Round 2 of the David versus Goliath soccer matchup at the Copa America is now in the history books. Canada's men's team stood tall once again, but fell to the world champions, Argentina, this time in the semifinals.
Rigo to Paul, and then cleared away by Kone. Enzo Fernandez!
Lionel Messi got a piece of that to make it 2-0, and Argentina never looked back. It's the second time the two teams clashed, Canada losing both times, but it's still a tournament of firsts for Canada, who will play for third place on Saturday against the loser of Colombia-Uruguay. Argentina will play the winner in the final on Sunday. And watching it all unfold tonight, Canadians across the country cheering on their team, including at a watch party in Vancouver, which is where we find BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson. Some disappointment, I would imagine, Andrew, but still there is plenty to be proud of.
Omar, all of the dramatic sports watching behavior applies. There was nail-biting, hair-pulling, people jumping up and down out of their seats, yelling at the TV, yelling at the officials. I heard the opposing players' mothers being mentioned. The Canadian fans are so passionate. They tried everything, including Claudio here. You resorted to pacing at one point. What was it like to see Canada on this major stage, underdogs or not?
It was brilliant. It was wonderful. It's exactly what aspiration looked like, ambition looks like. It was great.
Omar mentioned there might be some disappointment, but you're not feeling it, and you're actually going out to celebrate.
Oh, yeah, we're going to go out for some Canadian beef for dinner. Big steaks.
That's the way you do it. Claudio, thank you. The fans here did not give up, even when the team was trailing late in the game. In fact, if anything, it got louder. One of them stood up and made a speech at the conclusion of the game with Argentina's win, saying, "This is only Canada building toward the World Cup in 2026. It's a great thing what happened at Copa America." And as one man just told me, he's going out to celebrate with a steak dinner.
Some celebration, Andrew, despite that tough loss tonight. Thank you so much. Earlier this evening, I had the chance to speak with Canadian soccer legend and Canadian Sports Hall of Famer Dwayne D Rosario, who was in New Jersey for tonight's big game. And I started by asking him what it meant for him to witness Canada's historic run.
I'm just extremely proud of to see our country do so well. I'm proud of these the young players, performing at the world stage and showcasing our talents, and most importantly, showing the world that, Canada is a soccer country and we can play this game and we can compete against some of the world's elite.
You remain one of the all-time leading goal scorers in MLS history. And as someone who knows what it takes to win, what do you think has been the key to this team's success?
We've always, when things were against us, we still show up, we still give our 100%, as we showed in every game of this competition. And that's why we're here in the semis. We've rallied around, we've had some difficult times, we had some challenges, players going out due to unfortunate injuries, and the team just found a way to rally around and to get out and to grind out results.
It's that Canadian resilience. You've also been pivotal in increasing the popularity of the sport in North America while you played, but also after you retired in 2015. Regardless of what happens to Canada at the Copa America, win or lose, talk to me about what this moment means for the future of the sport in this country.
Yeah, that's a great point, and thank you for the sentiment. And having my academy, Dero TFC Academy, affiliated with TFC, I can't speak enough about how much MLS has contributed to a lot of our success and creating a professional environment for our future to walk to walk and live like a professional and to admire some of our role models that play this game. These guys train every day in a professional environment, in a professional setting. They play against elite team, other kids that want the same things that they want. And now we're closing the gap with the rest of the world. We're not just sitting back, absorbing pressure and looking for a counter attack. We're actually imposing our style. We're playing aggressive football, and we're going to get a result. We're going there expressing ourselves, and we're letting our players that have quality to perform.
And inspiring a new generation of young soccer players as you have. Dwayne D Rosario, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Let's go, Canada.
A popular summertime tradition in Canada is the Calgary Stampede. But now, just 4 days in, a third animal has been euthanized, prompting urgent calls for change. Here's CTV's Tyson Fedor with the disturbing details.
A routine ride for Idaho cowboy Stetson Jorgensen turned fatal for a young cow at the Calgary Stampede Monday. The calf he was steer wrestling had to be euthanized. Jorgensen is seen leaping from his horse to corral the calf, and in the process appears to injure the animal's neck, leaving it almost motionless.
It really seems that animal fatalities at the Stampede have become a near annual occurrence.
It gained attention from spectators, and the Calgary Stampede says in a statement that it does everything possible to evolve the programs and minimize risk, calling this a highly unusual and unfortunate incident.
You have to continue your bloody rodeo at the Stampede, which I think that we are definitely a more civilized country than this, that we just start looking at rodeo as being as cruel as it really is.
The steer death is the latest, with 2 chuck wagon horses being put down on Friday and Saturday due to injuries sustained by wagon interference on Denny Ringette's rig.
These horses are part of our family. We spend more time with these animals than we do with our families. So, it's a devastating loss to our barn.
And an outrider horse suffering serious injuries from Chance Thompson's crew. But some at the ground say the rodeo and chuck wagon races are what the greatest outdoor show on earth is all about.
I think it's all about the Stampede, the whole concept, right? The animals at least have a chance here.
Bad things happen to good horses. They're so well looked after. It's a shame that it happens, but the other 99.9%.
The Vancouver Humane Society says there have now been 108 animal deaths at the Stampede since 1986. Local animal activist groups want a ban on animal events and more of a focus on entertainment and the arts.
It really comes down to being for the sake of public entertainment.
Why don't we look at the beauty of these animals instead of looking at, let's watch them, get abused.
Tyson Fedor, CTV News, Calgary.
Thousands attending the Stampede were warned to stay cool as scorching heat gripped Calgary and much of the West. The record-breaking temperatures come as new revelations are emerging about the impact humans are having on Canada's climate. CTV's Kathy Lee reports.
Stifling and uncomfortable. Temperatures in the West unbearable at times.
We usually come here all the time just to cool down.
Cooling down, a challenge. Environment and Climate Change Canada saying BC broke 53 records Monday. Alberta, 16. The province declaring a power grid alert.
We have heat from all the way down in California and Nevada, all the way up into BC and Alberta.
In Vancouver, another problem, smog. That plus heat, dangerous for vulnerable groups.
As we get older, our bodies are just less efficient in removing that heat through sweating. So really anybody older, and then certainly people that are older and with some pre-existing heart, lung disease, or type 2 diabetes would be also at risk.
In the east, sweltering temperatures fueled by typical summer weather patterns.
Humid, hot, sticky.
Hot. In Fredericton, 2 heat waves this year. For the first time, the federal government linking last month's heat wave in eastern Canada to human-caused climate change.
That's exactly what the rapid event attribution system allows us to demonstrate, is the effect of that human-caused climate change on increasing the likelihood or the intensity of heat waves like this.
And across the GTA, those who have to be outside.
Covering up as much as we can. We got the dry fit sleeves and Some guys have the hats that cover their neck.
Environment and Climate Change Canada says conditions in southern Ontario will change drastically as remnants of Hurricane Beryl is expected to bring intense rain. In Alberta, the temperature is forecasted to get even hotter tomorrow, with the heat spreading to Saskatchewan and Manitoba over the next few days. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
The extreme heat in the U.S. is creating miserable cleanup conditions after Hurricane Beryl killed at least 7 people. A trail of carnage through Texas and Louisiana, Houston hammered as trees split homes in half. The storm has diminished, but as mentioned, when it reaches Ontario, Quebec, and the Atlantic this week, it will bring heavy rain. Russia refused to take responsibility for the deadly strike on a children's hospital in Kyiv, instead pointing blame at Ukraine.
We said it many times, and we continue to say that we are not targeting civilian objects, let alone the children's hospital.
But Ukraine released images it says show a damaged Russian cruise missile at the scene. The UN says it's highly likely the hospital took a direct hit from a Russian missile. NATO reaffirmed its unity against Russian aggression in Ukraine at the start of a 3-day summit in Washington today. But behind the show of solidarity, there are also simmering tensions. Here's CTV's Judy Trin.
NATO, now 32 nations strong, led by the U.S. President Joe Biden is older than the military alliance, but Biden is eager to demonstrate he can still unify allies.
Make no mistake, Ukraine can and will stop Putin.
To help Ukraine defeat Russia, NATO will create a new mission in Germany, run by a 3-star general, focused on delivering long-term military aid to Ukraine. It falls short of Volodymyr Zelensky's hope to start negotiating for membership. At a visit to a monument memorializing the deaths of Ukrainians starved to death by Soviet-era policies, the diaspora urged Canada to do more.
Russia is on a war footing, and security and defense is a top priority for most global leaders. And quite frankly, Canada is being left behind by not at least keeping up with our allies in terms of how much we're spending on defense.
Since Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Ottawa has given Kyiv $4 billion in weapons, ammunition, and training, and $12 billion in loan guarantees. But at the summit, allies are taking aim. Ottawa only spends 1.37% of its national revenue on defense, far below its NATO obligations.
They're not going to do their 2%. Why? Well, talk about riding on America's coattails. They have the safety and security of being on our border and not having to worry about that. I think that's shameful.
Our credibility as an ally is at stake. This will be a very awkward meeting for Prime Minister Trudeau if Canada doesn't plan on making additional spending commitments.
Defense Minister Bill Blair says he'll present allies a plan to meet NATO targets within the next few days. Canada's defense budget is at $30 billion this year. Getting to the target will take billions more. Omar.
Judy Trin in Washington, thanks. Opening arguments start tomorrow in the high-profile trial of Hollywood star Alec Baldwin. Today, the jury was picked and the manslaughter case expected to last 8 days. And the looming question, will Baldwin testify? Here's CTV's Joy Malvin.
This will end in jail time. The 66-year-old actor now in a real-life drama. Alec Baldwin walking into a New Mexico courthouse charged with involuntary manslaughter for his role in the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the film set of his movie Rust in October 2021.
You were in the room when someone was shot?
Holding the gun, yeah.
Okay.
Baldwin was holding the Wild West prop gun that fired a live round of ammunition during a rehearsal. He has long maintained that the gun malfunctioned.
The trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger. I feel that someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
Baldwin says he was told the revolver was safe by those in charge of gun safety.
We find the defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, guilty.
In March, armorer Hannah Gutierrez was sentenced to prison for the same charge that Baldwin now faces. Prosecutors argued the movie was plagued with unsafe conduct and Baldwin as co-producer was responsible. But in a legal win for the actor,
One more.
the judge ruled his role as producer can't be introduced.
Now they're going after him as an actor who pointed a gun in a way he shouldn't have and who wasn't as conscientious of safety rules as he should have been. That's a much harder road to travel.
The actor's best defense may be the doubts his lawyers can bring up about the pistol. They argue the gun was destroyed during FBI testing and have tried to have the case thrown out.
There is always a wild X factor in every trial like this, especially with celebrities. And who knows, if Alec Baldwin gets on the stand, he could either be his best advocate or his worst enemy.
That's the big question. Will Baldwin testify in his own defense? Opening statements are set for tomorrow if convicted. The actor faces 18 months in prison. Omar?
Joy, thank you. Ticketmaster is warning customers about a data security breach that may have leaked their personal information, such as names, phone numbers, and credit card info. No word on how many people are affected. The company says an unauthorized third party accessed the data in April and May. Coming up, bottlenecked.
Maybe it is time for a different approach to this.
The deadlock in Ontario's liquor store workers' strike, plus the controversy over a new kind of nicotine. The first ever strike by workers at the Crown Corporation that sells alcohol in Ontario is starting to make restaurants and bars concerned about supply chain issues nervous. CTV's Heather Wright on the clash.
These are just some of the 9,000 LCBO workers who walked off the job last week, shutting down Ontario liquor stores in a dispute with the province that shows no signs of being resolved soon.
We're definitely in it for the long haul.
The main point of contention in this strike is the province's decision to expand alcohol sales, including pre-mixed cocktails, to more retail locations. Not only does the union say this will lead to job losses, they fear this is the beginning of the end of the Crown Corporation.
We're being privatized completely. Our resources are being taken away from the public and given off to private hands.
In a statement released today, the province said we are more committed than ever to fulfilling our promise of choice, while adding the LCBO will continue to be a publicly owned retailer. But the union says the province's current approach will undercut the LCBO and threaten the billions of dollars the Liquor Control Board funnels to provincial coffers every year.
Even though LCBO workers are on strike.
Highlighting some of the choice available to Ontarians, Premier Doug Ford released a video announcing a searchable tool for consumers to find local places to purchase booze during the strike, a map immediately slammed by the union.
What would be a much more useful map is one that tells us where to find a family doctor.
The Premier's aim to liberalize alcohol sales in Ontario has been no secret. He famously campaigned on a buck a beer in 2018, and alcohol sales have expanded during his time in office.
So we do have this point where a lot of people said, you know, we've liberalized things and it hasn't gone so badly. So maybe it is time for a different approach to this.
This is the first time LCBO workers have gone on strike in the corporation's history, and at this point, there are no plans for either side to return to the bargaining table. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead. The quit smoking tool, some say, is sparking a new habit. A tiny nicotine pouch on Canadian store shelves has reignited a big health debate, leaving some questioning whether the supposed tool is actually a source of temptation. Here's CTV's Garrett Barry.
No longer the stuff of old-school films or baseball diamonds, chewable nicotine sales are raging in the United States, almost doubling year over year. Last October, they moved north, a new product called Zonic, made by Imperial Tobacco. But where some see a tool to help people quit smoking, others see a Trojan horse, flavored, colorful nicotine that can be addictive for new users. Some provinces have already stepped in to restrict where these cans can be seen and sold. Health Canada is studying the issue too, with new powers regulating advertising, sales, and packaging of certain products. Anti-smoking advocates want the pouches out of corner stores.
Pharmacies would be a great location, and the adult can certainly access them there if they need them. While there, they can probably get some advice and some guidance.
Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, you can still walk into a corner store and buy one of these nicotine pouches. And it's also here that a business lobby group is trying to mount their campaign against looming federal regulations.
And if I'm a smoker
and I want to quit smoking, and it is easier for me to buy a product online than it is to go to a pharmacist to buy that product, I'm probably going to make an illicit sale.
These retailers say pushing products out of corner stores won't make them go away. Polls show that chewing products are more popular among young adults, 18 to 34, than the rest of the population. But unlike smoking and even vaping, they don't create a smell for others.
If I'm chewing tobacco or if I have a nicotine chewing gum, it's not going to bother people in the same way as it would if I light up a cigar in the middle of a room.
So it's not yet clear how badly Canadians might want them regulated or moved out of sight. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
After the break, the Maritimer making waves on the pitch for Canada. Nova Scotia's Jacob Shufberg has become a rising star at the Copa America. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth on a dream come true for a Canadian player nicknamed Maritime Messi.
Growing up, Jacob Shufberg was never sure his soccer talents would take him beyond his home province of Nova Scotia.
I wasn't able to be seen by the national team a lot.
Shufberg eventually made it to Major League Soccer, where he plays for Nashville. Just as his family is getting used to seeing him play professionally,
He takes it up to another level.
the 24-year-old has been Canada's most exciting player at the Copa America tournament and has cemented his status as a world-class soccer player.
Not only can he keep up, he can excel at this level.
Acadia University soccer player Michael O'Flynn says Shufberg has served notice to the soccer world that Nova Scotia can produce high-quality players.
Just from here, we're building lots of really good players.
The Canadian team recently had an emotional post-game visit from fellow Nova Scotian Sidney Crosby. The entire country is behind this team. The province of Nova Scotia has gone wild for Shufberg.
Everybody's excited in the soccer community, of course, and we're all behind him.
Former professional soccer player and longtime amateur coach Costa Ellis says Jacob Shufberg is highly skilled. He's a world-class player, but how he interacts with the media and with fans help make him a rising star in this sport.
He's just a bundle of energy. I mean, he just brings a smile to your face every time you watch him.
Fans have flocked south of the border to watch the games in person. His home community of Port Williams has been holding soccer game watch parties.
Cheering on local boy Jacob Shufberg, of course.
A hometown hero and now a household name. Jacob Shufberg is poised to lead his country to future soccer success. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Port Williams, Nova Scotia.
And that's a snapshot of this Tuesday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night and see you tomorrow.